What is up, everybody? Happy Wednesday to you. I hope that you are enjoying your day. Ah, it's the middle of the week. The middle of the week. Check out my live stream earlier today. I was just kind of talking about some random topics that came on my radar. I actually did a morning live stream. Yeah. So I was looking at this perspective this morning.
So
Oops. I was looking at this perspective this morning. I need to do this first before we get started. There we go. So I can actually see the chat from my computer and not my phone because I don't know, there's like a weird delay or something. So if you miss this live stream, you are welcome to catch it on the replay. Hopefully, this particular live stream will be informative to people who are kind of curious. I believe that we all should become like mini social psychologists. And when I say that, I mean that we should all be seeking to understand how people and groups they think in this nation. And it all lends itself to better understanding people. What's going on, Brian? I see you. You were able to catch me. But I think that, if you become a mini social psychologist and just really seek to understand how people and different groups, how they think, how they function, I think you'll learn a lot. So, one thing that I kind of have been grappling with for the past, I would say 4 years, as I've kind of been more conscious, jumping into different conversations and thought tanks, is really how different racial groups and even people who identify with each other or a certain racial segment, how they really think, right? And one of the big things that caught my attention within the last year was the Black American delineation movement and or the FBA. And this was an extension of maybe the Ados Freeman movements. Now, I've said, you will see me in videos, saying like, I thought we were Ados, right? I thought we were Freeman. What are we? Basically, because the name seemed to change. The FBA thing kind of came out as a new brand. And I'm like, okay, it's all an extension of Ados Freeman, who are people who are foundational Black Americans or descendants of slaves, people who, by force were brought to this nation to basically engage in servitude. Okay. And so with that foundational Black American delineation movement that happened during this political cycle, it really helped me to broaden my perspective about all the black looking thought tanks in the United States and beyond. So this conversation is really confined to Americans, but if you are from around the world and abroad, feel free to chime in. And obviously, Google is going to be, or YouTube is going to be suppressing this content because for some reason, their little supremacists don't want people having critical conversations like this. So if you miss it, catch it on the replay. If you like my content, hit the notification bell, and that way you're always going to get notified when I go live because sometimes it can be pretty random. How you doing, Tia? Hope everything is well with you. So we're talking about the social psychology of people in America today, right? And I was catching this blog, and it's from, and I always say this brother's name wrong, so pardon me, but Neferkari T. Dessalines. I'm assuming this, hopefully, I'm saying this brother's name right. That is his channel. And he has a blog called Trump's Cabinet is full of, quote, booty scratchers, no foundational white Americans. And I thought that title was very interesting Because one of the things that I've always been curious about with all of the delineation that goes on with black looking people is how do white looking people delineate themselves from each other, if any? And this guy, he provides a very interesting perspective. And honestly, like I said, white delineation has been something that I've always pondered about, but it's never been a notion that I've taught really dug deep in until recently, and just the perspective that I have on Black American delineation and thought tanks. You have your Black immigrants, right? You have your Pan African contingency or your African diaspora contingencies who are like, hey, we are all from the diaspora. We all should unite. We should all, no matter where you come from, right? We are descendants of the same people and we should be uniting. We should be coalescing, right? And then you have some individuals from the FBA camp who are like, yeah, we should definitely get along with our brothers and sisters from around the world. But at the same time, we need to delineate ourselves from these other groups in America because obviously some of these people can be leveraged, sort of against us. So it seems that, with that school of thought, you have a camp that believe that it's Black American strong. We got to stick together and we should not be aligning with just any and everybody, especially those who do not have foundational roots in this nation, right? And their position is that just because people look like us do not mean that they are like us. And when you look at some of these conversations between black looking people in this nation, there is an air of nationalism, hence some nationalism. Even you got your black looking immigrants that come here, and they're still pretty nationalistic to wherever they came from, right? So it seems that when Black Americans start delineating themselves, separating themselves from Black looking people, this becomes very problematic to a lot of individuals from other Black looking nations or lands. Because as Tariq Nasheed will call them, he calls them tethers. He said these people, they tether onto Black culture, they tether onto Black people, right? But then once they do that, these people tend to, when it is convenient for them, ally with people who are enemies of Black people or mean Black people no good. And they pretty much turn on us as well. So it's a lot of interesting relationships that happens within the Black looking community. I definitely can relate to our Pan African brothers and sisters who, they're like, we're all from this diaspora. We all should be coalescing. We all should be uniting. And there's a reason why their argument, in a way, makes a lot more sense than the Black delineation isolationist ideology. And that's really just because of what white people are doing, right? And so this brother gives a very interesting perspective. I listened to it this morning and I just want to walk through this. And like I said, shout out to Neferkari, brother. I am sorry if I'm saying your name wrong, but it's all love here. D. Desalinas. And this brother actually kind of, gave it to Tariq Nasheed a little bit recently too, because I've never been to California. Actually, I have zero desire to go to California, but I've never been there. Um, and so I don't know too much about what people have going on. And so Tariq is always talking about his hidden history museums and having sit downs there. I've never seen Tariq's museum until today, until Neferkari, hopefully I'm saying the dude's name right, did this video. And I guess this brother was not happy that Tariq went after Marcus Garvey, and here's the thing. I think Tariq does a good job of displaying the pride of foundational Black Americans, meaning Ados Freeman. His mission is really about highlighting our progression in America, um, our inventions, our mindsets, our ingenuity, our vibe, our flavor in America, and what we truly have contributed to this nation, whether people want to give us our flowers or not. I don't even think America really would be as cool as it is without Black Americans, but that's just me. But anyways, Neferkari goes into white people, and he goes into Trump's cabinet a little bit. And one of the things that people have been saying, and some of the Democratic side have been aha, and the black people who voted for Trump, they're like basically like, aha, look, none of his people are black, right? And he picked all of these white people to be in his cabinet, right? Now, mind you, the reason why Kamala Harris was not black to a lot of, FBAs was that she did not share our lineage, right? She is a product of immigrants, right? And that was the real determining factor why many people felt like she cannot be classified as black. But it's interesting to see how white people classify each other. They're all white, no matter what their background is, no matter where they came from. And this is a point that Nefakari is making is, black people, we do a good job of separating ourselves from each other black looking people of the kind, maybe elevating ourselves a little higher than these people, maybe because we kind of went the distance in our country and many of these people had to flee their countries, the white supremacy that destroyed their countries, right? And so, there's a lot of like I said, Tariq does a good job of elevating, black strength, but at the same time, I can't deny the fact this brother makes a great point that white people just don't do that. They are all white no matter what. That is kind of where their brain, when they are on code, they are on code. And so I'm looking at, like, let's just get into this.
A quick video. I feel like being petty. So let's get
He
into it,
said
man.
he felt
As
like
we already
being
know,
petty.
Donald Trump, next president of the United States of America. And the topic of conversation lately has been immigrants, right? Immigration has been a hot button topic over these past couple months, couple years. Now, of course, when it comes to me,
What's
this
up,
type of rhetoric
Captain
coming
Kitty
from Donald
Kitty
Trump
Hawk? I
has
see
always
you,
been
baby.
hilarious to me due to the fact that he is a
You
descendant of
said,
immigrants.
hold on. You said self hatred only attacks itself. I mean, and like I love for people to define what self hatred is because I don't think that Black Americans separating themselves from cultures that they have been removed from is self hatred. I don't really believe that at all. So I would love to know what context you were talking about the self hatred again. Are you happy about Donald Trump as opposed to Kamala Harris? Absolutely. As opposed to anybody from the Democratic Party? Absolutely, I'm happy about Donald Trump. All right. So let's go back in here.
Immigrants. He is not a foundational white American, right?
So, right off the bat, he said that Donald Trump, it's interesting that we talk about these immigrants, right? And again, I think that his ideal of immigrants and the context that maybe that he's talking about immigrants is still different than what people are perceiving today. But in terms of his point he's making, Donald Trump is just like Kamala Harris. Donald Trump and a lot of Trump's cabinet picks are just like Kamala Harris because to this brother, they are not originators of the 13 colonies. They are not foundational white Americans. And I know this argument may sound a little weird to like white people, like what is a foundational white American? Well, I guess that sort of counters that foundational black American argument. And is that argument really legitimate on so many different levels in comparison to other race groups? So this is what he's really getting into, like what is a foundational white American and how come Donald Trump didn't put foundational white Americans in his cabinet.
His great
Interesting.
great grandfather wasn't around during the 13 colonies. He wasn't in Virginia. He wasn't in Boston. He wasn't in Massachusetts. He was somewhere in Frankfurt, Germany. But stay with me to the end of this video because there's a lesson to learn from this, especially for black men. Now, as you already know, Donald Trump has been making his choices for his cabinet positions, right? Secretary of Defense, Secretary of State, National Director of Intelligence, etc., etc. And I've been looking around and I realized that a good portion, I would say, damn near the majority of Trump's administration is a bunch of, anchor baby, immigrant booty scratchers. And it's ironic because if you listen to Donald Trump's rhetoric, you would think that he has some type of lineage that goes back to the Revolutionary War. You would think that his ancestors were in America during the 13 colonies, like they was in Georgia and they was in Virginia. But no, this guy is a musty tether. He is not a real American. He is not a foundation.
Now, mind you, this brother is, when you think about foundational black Americans, you know, for them, the only real Americans, like you have your immigrant people, but for FBA mindset, the only real Americans are the foundational native indigenous people, the foundational white people, part of the 13 colonies, and the foundational descendants of slaves. In their brains, this to me is what classifies a true American, when you have that lineage and you can trace your lineage on this land back that far. And it's kind of an interesting perspective to have, right? Because when you really think about what the white nationalist mindsets are, too, a lot of them are talking about their heritage and their ancestry on this land. So one could conclude that FBA type mindsets, they're very nationalistic, and I think that's why they come off very problematic to people who listen to the rhetoric of FBAs, because a lot of times they confuse it with white nationalists and how they perceive themselves in this nation. And I'm just kind of exploring these thought tanks here because I think it should be enlightening to people who's run around thinking that every people and group are monolithic or they're running with the same ideas. They really don't. In your opinion, it's all about black or white. In my opinion, in terms of the ongoing issue in America, they make it black and white, but obviously there are other races in this nation who are equally as bigoted or have caught on to bigotries, just by influence and environment. Let me go over here so I can do this. Let's see. I don't know what is Cap. You don't. You said Han Solo. Your handle is a character, so we can't take anything you say seriously. All right, but let's go back to this brother's video though, because
Foundational white American. Your granddaddy came from Germany. Your grandmama came from Scotland. Your wife came from Eastern Europe. Nigga, you a musty booty scratching tether. But when you examine his administration, it actually gets worse. His whole entire cabinet is full of musty tethers, bro. We got to talk about this.
And let's just define musty tether. Okay, again, to you know I don't know if this is a term that I would say is more attributed to the nationalistic mindset folks, right? But that's basically what it is. A musty tether is somebody who does not have foundational roots in America. And I don't agree with that terminology. Okay, I don't agree with that terminology, when you're talking about people who have immigrated to American lands. I don't agree with that. But this is what some of these people in these think tanks call these people. So I just want to provide clarity and context when you hear this dude referring to Donald Trump and other people who are not what he would consider foundational white Americans, right? That is what he's talking about.
Now, first things first, when Trump was on the campaign trail, I would say The individual who gave him the largest amount of support, tangible support, would be Elon Musk. I mean, Elon Musk went and bought an entire social media platform just to blast Trump propaganda. And as we already know, Elon Musk is a foreigner. He didn't become a U.S. citizen till he was like 35 years old. Now, like I said, stay with me. It's a message behind all this. Just stay with me though to the end of the video. Now, as we know, social media was definitely a battleground when it came to spreading propaganda.
What is that? Yes, you can do that.
On both sides of the aisle for the Democrats and the Republicans. And I would say Trump definitely had Kamala Harris beat in the social media arena. And of course, it also helps that
You know, sometimes it's like with little boys. If anybody got a little boy, you gotta like they turn everything into weapons. So it's just like, like what are you gonna do with
the
that?
CEO of Twitter, Elon Musk, down with your team. Now, keep in mind, neither of these
Everything is a
men are
weapon.
foundational white Americans. They were not here back in 1745 during the establishment of the colonies. They wasn't here when the British invaded. They wasn't here back in 1812 when the White House got set on fire. Elon Musk is a fresh off the boat booty scratcher. But like I said, you would never know that because, like I said,
I suppose I should say that booty scratcher is also synonymous with tether. These people got so many little names and adjectives for folks. It's like just say he's an immigrant. Damn it, you call him booty scratcher, tethers. It's just he's an immigrant. He immigrated to America. What the hell?
said, when it comes to the white immigrants, nobody says anything about the white immigrants. I don't understand why. But let's continue. Now, not only
Jesus.
was Elon Musk one of the biggest
People
backers,
are
one of
so
the biggest
ignorant.
supporters, one of the biggest donors behind the Trump campaign, but he also has a position in government, right? I believe that he was appointed to, the director of government efficiency or something like that. So, we got a whole immigrant booty scratcher up in the White House, in the halls of government. But anyways, enough about Donald Trump. Enough about
And
Elon
I
Musk.
will say this, and to his point, because, the Democratic Party, they do a very good job of saying, look, we're the party of inclusion. We're including everybody, right? And they'll get all these people of colors from different nationalities. And as you see how this brother is kind of laying things out right now, well, Trump pretty much did the same thing. He just picked a whole bunch of people that happen to look white, but a lot of these people come from different ethnic backgrounds, and many of them are immigrants. So Trump did the same thing with, I don't know, what is the other word for if you say people of color to lump in all the folks that's not white? What do you label all the white folks that came from Europe and this place and that place? I don't know. People of color, people of white or like maybe peaches of color because white people aren't really white. They like more peachy color to me.
Elon Musk, fled his homeland, back in
Peaches
South
of
Africa.
color.
Let's take a look at Trump's
The
cabinet,
peaches of
right? Let's
color,
take a look at
y'all.
their
All the
background.
different
Let's
white
take a look up on
folks.
the screen. This is Pete Hegseth, the incoming United States Secretary of Defense. Now let's jump into his background. Hegseth was born in 1980, and he is of Norwegian descent on both sides of the family. So this guy, like I said, he wasn't even here, back when James Madison and John Adams and Thomas Jefferson and Alexander Hamilton, he wasn't even, his ancestors wasn't even here. They was back in Norway, right? They was back in Oslo. They was back in Brumunddal. He was not nowhere near North America. He wasn't even over here. Now, let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Incoming United States Secretary of State, Marco Rubio. Born in Miami, Florida, the child of Cuban immigrants who fled the regime of Batista. See, this guy wasn't even here when Benjamin Franklin was around, bro. These guys wasn't.
So he's making the point that these are not foundational white Americans. These are not foundational white Americans. They don't come from lineage of people that actually built this nation.
And over here with Benjamin Franklin and George Washington and all those guys in British North America. These dudes is some musty feet tethers, man, that ran from their homeland, got their track shoes.
Again, musty feet, tether, African booty scratchers. They are all these terrible, 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 terrible. Um, descriptions of what some of these people, these think tanks, would call these immigrant looking people who tether on to different groups of people, you know.
Shoes on and ran to America, bro,
Lord have
to leech
mercy.
off with the white
I
Anglo.
don't like the booty scratcher. I want to understand how the immigrants got the booty scratcher name. Can somebody please? It's gonna bother me. Like, I mean, I get the tether thing, to a degree, but where did the booty scratcher come from? How did they become labeled booty scratchers? That is. Somebody explain that to me. If somebody, I'm gonna get to
Anglo-Saxon
the
Protestant
chat in a
build. These
second, but
dudes
if
is some
you
musty
know
booty
why.
scratchers. Let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. The incoming U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, Christy Nome. I think that's how you say her name. Christy Nome was born in South Dakota, and she has Norwegian ancestry. Okay, so just like the Secretary of Defense, right? They wasn't over here back in the day, man, when the Redcoats were coming. The British are coming. The British are coming. They wasn't here when the British was coming, right? She was all the way in Norway. Now let's continue. Take a look up on the screen. Tulsi Gabbard, the incoming director of national intelligence. Now these are some big boy positions.
So I mean, my thing is, I mean, this brother is he's talking about the diversity of Trump's cabinet picks and their ethnic backgrounds, and his overarching point is that all of these people are in the bucket of white. And all of these people are on code with each other and their mission. And so, for black people, black looking people, this is his argument. For black looking people in America, devoid of the immigration status of the black looking people that look like us, right? We should be on code with those people that look like us the same way that these whites are on code with all the white looking immigrants that come from all around the world and land in America. This is really his overarching theme with this.
Man. These ain't some small fry positions. These are some big dog positions, man. All these booty scratchers getting these big dog positions. This is crazy, bro. What about the foundational white Americans, bro? What about the foundational white Americans that was owning plantations, that was here, fighting for the country, fighting in the war, fighting in the Civil War? Where is the foundational white Americans, man? This is crazy, man. The Tethers is going crazy in the White House. Let's continue. Now, Tulsi Gabbard, she is of European and Samoan ancestry, and I believe that she wasn't even born in the United States. All right, so she is, man. She wasn't even born here, man. This is crazy. Now she's the director of national intelligence. Wow. Let's continue. We got Dr. Oz, right? Dr. Oz, the incoming administrator for the Centers of Medicare and Medicaid Services.
And for those of you who are like, what is a foundational white American? Basically, his mindset and his argument is that foundational white Americans are people who were here at the founding of this nation. They are descendants of people from the 13 colonies. And again, anybody who is an immigrant, they would not be considered a foundational white American, just like any person that immigrated to America who is black looking and they cannot trace their ancestry back to at least the 1800s when we started keeping records, then you're not a foundational black American. So this is the think tanks in America. And I think we should all be enlightened. And as I said in the beginning of this video, we should all seek to be mini social psychologists because that's really how we will understand people and how groups really think in America. It's not all kumbaya. This is not a homogenous nation. And because we have a government that fosters different little racial divisions in different colorful ways, right? They capitalize on the fact that we're not homogenous and that many of us have cultural variations and they leverage those things. And unfortunately, the lemming culture of people let them.
Now we know this guy, obviously, you could just look at his face, look at his hairline, and you can see he's definitely not a foundational white American. He's definitely not a white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, the OG Americans. Nah, he don't come from that old colonial stock. This guy, he's from Turkey, right? He's Turkish, right? He come from Turkey. He's not even a foundational white American, right? He is a Turkish booty scratcher. But let's continue. Next up, we got Howard Lutnick, the incoming United States Secretary of Commerce. And I believe this guy is, a descendant of Eastern European Jewish immigrants, right? So, he wasn't over here, like I said, back in the days when Thomas Jefferson was owning slaves and engaged in pedophilia. He wasn't here back in that time. He was somewhere, I don't know where he was at. He was somewhere in Albania or somewhere in Eastern Europe. I don't know where he came from, probably Poland or something. I don't know. But like I said, he's not a foundational white American, right? He doesn't come from that, OG, 13 colonies, Georgia, Massachusetts, Virginia. Nah, these dudes is some recent arrivals. But anyways, let me stop being petty, right? Let me stop being petty. There's a lesson in all this. There's a lesson to
Yeah,
be.
this is the point that I thought was just like his whole breakdown. And I think he was like, again, he's being petty with this ethnic breakdown of all these white looking people in Trump's cabinet. And he's making a point, and this is really the point of all of this breakdown that he's doing right now.
To be learned in all this, apart from the jokes, and it's a lesson for black men to learn in all this as well. And you wonder why I go so hard against certain ignorance, right? Especially the ignorance of xenophobia and self hatred that is rampant among many of our communities. Now, when Trump had made his choices for his cabinet, there were a lot of individuals, especially from, the left and the Democrat side, that were criticizing him because they said that he chose an all white administration or he only chose white men and women, and they tried to penalize him for not having a diverse cabinet. But when you dig deeper, you realize, yes, these are white men and women, but these are white men and women from very diverse backgrounds, right? You got Eastern European Jews, you got Norwegians, you got Italians, you got Czechoslovakians, you got people from Turkey, you got Elon Musk, immigrant booty scratcher from South Africa with Dutch origins, and you got the president himself, Donald Trump, the grandchild of German and Scottish immigrants. He wasn't here back in 1776. But one thing that I always emphasize on my channel is unity among our people, unity among black men and women. But I always say, I only want to unify with the best and the brightest of us. And you could take this Donald Trump cabinet as an example, right? Because a lot of these individuals are highly decorated, right? Went to very prestigious universities, went to Harvard, got studied, finance and business.
And I want to make it clear, right? This brother is not demonizing Trump's cabinet. That beginning of the video breaking down their ethnicity is really to get him to a point and a message that he wanted to give to black men, right? Especially those who are real all in on delineating themselves from other black people. And again, these arguments can be very sensitive to a lot of people because one reason, and I think Tariq Nasheed makes a really good point, why many black people have decided to delineate themselves from other black looking people in America is really because of their rhetoric and what they're willing to go along with in terms of actually being enemies of black people, speaking about black people with what white supremacist talking points. And so I believe that is the point in which, I think that's how we really got to the FBA delineation movement, because I listened to Tariq and I listened to some of his call-ins. And I don't agree with how he approaches conversations with some of our black looking brothers and sisters from different lands. But I think at the heart of what Tariq is doing and even saying, I see that where it's like I'm gonna give love to my brothers and sisters in the diaspora, but if I see somebody who is outright going in on black people with their white supremacist talking points, we're going to basically give it to them. And we're going to give them business every single time. And I don't disagree with that part. But, I think it should be clear, that black Americans are open to working with other black looking people, coalescing with other black looking people, and people should not be going around thinking, or other black looking people should not be going around thinking that black Americans are running around with some idea of supremacy, because obviously that's absurd on so many different levels. But at the same time, you know, it's just one of those things where it's not helpful to the overall diaspora. And I do agree with that. And I am a foundational black American woman. Y'all can test my lineage all you want to. But I don't believe in separation. I don't believe in separatist mindsets unless you're separating from wicked ass people. And I believe that you should do that with people of any color, no matter if they look like you. I'm a separatist when it comes to wicked ass people. So if that's you, absolutely, I discriminate against you all day. I don't want to have nothing to do with your ass. Because we don't have
Business
nothing to
and
do with
public
wicked people
policy and
over
got
here.
masters and PhDs and went to law school, and these are very highly decorated individuals, right? That they're not really having petty conversations about, oh, you're from Norway, oh, you wasn't really from here, you wasn't even over here. Elon Musk, you were immigrant booty scratcher, you wasn't even born here. They're not having these low level, low IQ conversations, right? Because they understand that we have common goals and common interests that go beyond, petty things like my geographical location or geographical origins, right? And I believe that black men have to operate in the same way. The best and brightest of us need to come together. It doesn't matter your background, it doesn't matter your origin. That shit doesn't matter, bro. And I believe that's really how it works in the real world, right? In the real world, nobody's getting caught up in these low level conversations about if you're a real American or not, or if you're really from here or not. Nah, those are internet conversations, especially when it comes to white folks, because white folks, when it comes to white immigrants, nobody even treats white immigrants as if they're immigrants. Like when you talk about immigrants, like when they go to foreign countries, they don't even call them immigrants, right? They call them expats and shit like that, digital nomads, and they get them fancy names. They don't even call them migrants. That's why you could have 300,000, 400,000 Ukrainians bum rush into the United States and nobody even say a word about it. And watch, in 20 years, 25 years, you're going to have a Ukrainian Secretary of State. And everybody's going to act like it's totally normal. But in any event, the lessons to be learned from this, especially for black men, is definitely if you're going to emulate anything that Trump does, it would be to understand that never let low level petty bullshit cause you to divide yourself against your brothers. Because you could look at Trump, right? That's a German immigrant. You look at his Secretary of Defense, that's a Norwegian immigrant. But they don't see it like that, right? They see it like, nah, this is my brother. We got common goals, we got common interests, and it would be in both of our best interests to collaborate because we are stronger together. I'm not gonna let the fact that his parents came from Norway and mine came from Germany get in between what we're trying to accomplish. I'm gonna put it.
And I do believe that his pettiness with this Trump cabinet breakdown is a direct, sort of, shot at Tariq Nasheed and the FBA camp. I do believe that this little breakdown, petty breakdown, because he's been on Tariq's ass. I see you, Neferkari, or whatever your name is, bro. But he's been on Tariq's ass, right? And I don't know too much about this brother, right? I think he's a very intelligent brother. I think that he's lettered, he's read, he's definitely an intellectual. He facilitates intelligent, well-researched conversations, and I'm not saying that Tariq doesn't do that either. Tariq definitely comes with his knowledge of history. Um, but again, I think that there's so many different camps of black thought. And you have your, like I said, you have your Dr. Umar contingencies, your Pan-African contingencies, and for them we are all a diaspora. you know I think black delineation movement type thing, I don't think that this is going to be something that really is impactful on the black community like that. Um, I don't think that we do have a huge segment, or not even a huge segment. We do have a nice segment of Black Americans who do have very nationalistic mindsets, and you know they're not black Democrats either. This is not a sentiment of black Democrats. That's why I said that it's not a huge segment, because now at where the country is, 70% of black people maybe are Democrats. So the Democratic Party really have lost a lot of their people, black people. So you have a lot of black independents, um, or even black conservatives, and I think that I think they're the ones who kind of can, they may cleave and leverage these conversations during political cycles. With the delineation of black people, that can definitely be leveraged during political cycles like it was. Because if you ever want to just take a Kamala Harris out the game, all you got to do is just start delineating, and basically calling out the lies of how she was sold. So, I mean, black delineation definitely made Kamala Harris lose this time around, right? You had a lot of black people vocal about that delineation too. And so they weren't rocking with Kamala, right? And it really wasn't anything personal against Kamala Harris. It was really about the Democrats. I mean, I don't think the rebellion that I saw with black people, at least in my circle, it was really nothing personal to Kamala Harris. We knew she wasn't unqualified, right? Um, but it was really rebellion against the Democrats, why a lot of people voted the way that they voted. And I see a lot of black Democrats are kind of coming to some realization too that the Democratic Party just leverages them, tokenizes them. So I saw, one black Democrat crying and stuff like that, and just realizing that there's no Democratic Black coalition. And it's like, I don't know why you be talking. I really don't know why people believe these double talking demons. I feel sorry for these folks. These people have been double talking with their demonism to black people for centuries, you know, and no, nothing has changed. I think that we need to break the cycle, the Stockholm syndrome. Um, and black people should just be independent. I don't think that black people should really have party allegiance. We should be politically neutral and vote for what's in our best interest and what we really care about. So that's my mindset. But let's finish up with this brother real quick,
And put
and
them on
then
the
we can
team. I'm
chop
gonna
it
put
up,
them on,
chat.
right? And at the end of the day, the world does not see those two men as, oh, that guy's a Norwegian, that guy's a German. Nah, they just see, oh, two white men. They just see, Trump cabinet full of white men, and they standing on white man business. And that's the type of mentality that forward-thinking black men should have. We should collaborate with our best and brightest, right? Those of us who have something to offer, right? Because Donald Trump even seen Elon Musk, who, like I said, he was born in a foreign country, but he sees the value in Elon Musk as his, as a compatriot, as a fellow comrade. And that's why whenever you see any type of conversations happening that are trying to divide black men and try to stop black men from collaborating and put our heads together and put our best ideas forward on a table together, once you see any movement or anybody talking against the unity and collaboration and teamwork and synergy of black men, you have to stomp that motherfucker out. You have to stomp that person out until they are destroyed. Because when
I think he's talking about
it
Tariq.
comes to our adversaries, they clicking up, they teaming up, they doing their thing, right? So we cannot let petty bullshit get in between us. Like I said, the best and brightest of black men got to collaborate, man. We got to put our heads together, man. Let the idiots do what they do. They're irrelevant in the grand scheme of things. But when it comes to us, man, we got to put our best minds together forward, man. That's why I'm always going to preach the doctrine of unity. I'm always going to preach the doctrine of unity. I'm never going to let anybody come around trying to preach the doctrine of division, especially when we look at our adversaries. They're not embodying that doctrine. They're not following that doctrine. They're not dividing each other.
This and here's the thing. I listen to very diverse perspectives. I take what I need from these perspectives. But, one of the things that I felt like this rebranded Ados Freeman FBA movement was kind of giving was separatist. And sometimes you would hear conversations about, and don't get me wrong, right? I think that, when you think about some of these foreign black looking people that actually have the most smoke with black people, I don't find that it's the black foreigners that are coming from actual Western lands like us. So, he was talking to a brother, for a UK brother, right, for example. And, they have very similar mindsets to us, even if they're like have their traditional cultural upbringing. A lot of them at some point will immerse themselves with at least Black American ideology. And many of them will even admit that of the Black people around the world, Black Americans truly are the ones who made Blackness cool and prideful and something to basically put on the map. Like we made the Black people everywhere look good, and because we fight, we got a lot to say. We gonna make a lot of noise, right? A lot of these people, they're scared of the white supremacists. Black people are not. We will either go to war with them or we will embarrass them. Something's gonna happen where we're not gonna make it easy for them these days to just overtly demonize us without being called out. And I think a lot of Black looking people around the world have respected Black people for that. You can say whatever you want to say about Black people in America, but many of us have been here in this nation dealing with all of these things that have been stacked up against us by coordination, but we never fled. Like we never went back to some idea or construct of Africa. And for that, you do got to give Black Americans their flowers. And I think Black immigrants need to recognize that when you come to this nation, fleeing your own nation, you are in no place to start calling Black people in America the N words or adopting white supremacy talking points about Black Americans. And just because you bow down to white supremacy in America, that you can just say whatever you want to say. That's where you become the booty scratchers and the tethers and all those other negative things that this brother is saying right now, because that cannot be tolerated. That cannot be tolerated. You are not going to flee your land, your third world country, in some of these people's um, you know, situation, and then come over here talking about Black people and we should be. It's like our poorest Black people live better than some of your medium class people, and that's just true. You go over to some of them African countries, some of these Black looking countries, motherfuckers on Section 8 is living better than them in America. And that's just the truth. People on Section 8 got better houses, better food hookups, everything than some of their even most well off people. So, Black Americans, we ain't doing that bad in comparison to some of our other Black looking folks around the world. So we need to actually think about that too. Even our Section 8 folks are doing better than a lot of these so called well off Black folks, Black looking folks from afar. But I appreciate Neferkari for doing this petty, because the brother was being petty, doing all them white folks lineage ancestor breakdown, but he was making a great point. Donald Trump picked a cabinet member of people who were intelligent. He did not care about what level of whiteness do they have, are you German, are you come from Turkey. He wasn't doing that. He's collaborating with the best and brightest minds. And what this brother is saying is that Black men need to do the same thing. We shouldn't be looking at, Black people, Black men should not be looking at each other as, you're from Haiti, or you're from, Zimbabwe or something like that. And so therefore, I cannot coalesce with you in America. That is very ignorant. And I do agree with him, and like I said, my mindset about the African diaspora, the FBA, Ados Freeman, I'm always trying to evolve my understanding to be sensitive. I don't believe in being in herds of mentalities and thoughts, but I do believe in at least expanding on my thinking about things and trying to be fair to positions. When I listen to some of my Pan African brothers, they really are coming from a place of unity, and they're coming from a place of alliance. And a lot of them have understood what the common threats of Black looking people have been. And so for them, it is very perplexing that you would have, a certain segment of Black Americans who are just hell bent on delineating themselves and even sort of creating some level of Black supremacy. about themselves. Because again, I'm not saying Tariq does this, but there are some people, they do kind of do that, the way that they're talking about some of these black looking immigrant people that come here. And some of these people are coming with just understanding, and they do got unity on their brains. So, let me know what you guys think. What else you saying,
Each other up.
Nefakari?
They're not splitting each other up into little bits and pieces. No, no. They coming together. They boosting their numbers. So black men got to do the same, man. Black men got to do the same. Anyways, man, it's a boy Nefer that's Elaine back in the Billy. Yes, indeed.
Nefakari, thank you for saying your name, brother. Dang, Nefakari. Great video. Great breakdown. Let me get to the comments and then we'll talk about Uncle Roro for a second. Uncle Roro, Roland Martin, got paid, what was it, 350K just to shill for Kamala Harris. And apparently he don't want black folks to say anything to him about that. He went hard. Man, these people, through for $350, all you got to do is just talk about how great somebody who's not great is. It's like the sellout game is so real. It's crazy. I mean, and they make it so easy to sell out. It's like, it's almost like, God, this is the easiest money you could ever make, just selling out to some bullshit. But then there's your pride. You're right, Aaron. Easy money, just selling out. But let me get here. Jamaica is definitely somewhere I want to go next. I've never been to Jamaica. I would love to go to Jamaica. I would come. You said come to Jamaica. I might. You know what? I mean, my friends and I were talking about our next momcation, and I think Jamaica might be the thing. It might be the thing. So I'm definitely going to be planning a momcation in the next 3 months, and maybe I will go to Jamaica and just have some fun. You know, when you need to buy endorsements, you lost. She sure did buy those endorsements, and what I don't understand is why they just didn't come out and say that those things were paid. Right? You know how the bloggers and the YouTubes, they have to put that little caveat on each one of their posts that this was a paid endorsement. I don't understand why Eminem, Beyonce, Megan Thee Stallion, Gorilla, all those people that she paid, I don't understand why they were not required to say that that was a paid endorsement. Because really, I mean, and I guess, what they did was they kind of guised it as concerts, right? I think that's what they really tried to get around that paid endorsement thing was, is we're going to say we're putting on this concert and we're paying these artists to do this, right? So, you know, in a way, these artists can double back and say, I was not being paid to endorse this candidate, which is a bag of garbage, right? They were being paid to entertain the candidate's audience for the rally, right? They can slick talk that way. You said, I will never want to leave. You love the people in the country. I would definitely visit Jamaica, but I got to get back to my US of A. I do. I love my country as well. Even though it's not perfect, the United States is a very beautiful country. It just really is. Too bad, these folks are trying to destroy it. I can never listen to Eminem for real now. I'm from Detroit, and I really have never been a fan of Eminem's music. He just kind of fell off to me, and that new stuff that he came out with, I'm like, this sounds like your old stuff. So you haven't really evolved, some shady at all. We need to stop this mess and go back to Earth, protect our planet. I agree with you, Ghetto. Let's see. You said China has a big hold on African minerals. I can believe that, but somebody taught the Chinese to be colonizers too. Maybe it was their ancestors, maybe it was the Europeans. You need to travel more. Africa is on the rise. It's funny. I've never desired to go to Africa before. I don't think I've ever, like, there's not one place in Africa really that I've ever wanted to go. But if I had to go to Africa, I would like to go to West Africa, check out some of those areas. Um, that's how removed Black Americans are from African culture. It's unfortunate for sure. Um, let's see. What's up, Info Warrior? I see you. What's up, Ghetto Planet? Give my mod some love. I love these my cats. Like they will literally, they see people trolling or getting out of line, and it's like block, hurt their feelings, and block their asses unapologetically. What's up, Ghana? I see you. I see you, Ghana. Never been to Ghana, but I heard some stories about y'all. I don't know about Ghana. I gotta make sure that I get hooked up with the right travel agent, and I'm not getting into no schemes. Some of y'all folks ain't right over there. Got to get a real travel agent so that I know that I'm going to be able to be in Ghana and actually enjoy myself without no BS. You said y'all about to find out about fake alien invasion coming soon. We need to be talking about how Biden is trying to escalate World War III with Russia. We need to be talking about that. They got us distracted with all this post-election shit. But meanwhile, you got Biden who's directly antagonizing Russia. I've said this before and I've said this again, I'll say it time and time again. We are going to see war on this homeland. The United States beyond 9/11, we're going to see some real warfare on this land. I think part of it is by design of stupidity. Um, and, I think part of it is, people really do want to see America collapse economically and militarily. And I think this is the way to do it. I think the timing of, you know, Biden approving Ukraine using long range missiles, it's a mistake. Like, I mean, let's not be coy. If Vladimir Putin so desired, Ukraine would have been wiped out 2 years ago. And that's just a matter of fact. I don't think Putin has a desire to do that because number one, Ukraine is too close to their homeland. They don't want to start busting nukes on there because they would like to use that land at some point in the future, right? And you can't really have usable land when you got all these nuclear warheads all over the place. So it doesn't make any sense that Russia is trying to, destroy Ukraine, even though they have the capabilities. They've been had the capabilities to do it. Hell, Russia got the capability to knock out all of Europe if they so desired. And they're very kamikaze over there. I think Vladimir Putin is very kamikaze. And a lot of people, and he's calculated. He's very calculated. And to me, whatever you want to say about Vladimir Putin, the man is calculated. He's not a maniac like people say. And I'm not a Putin sympathist. I'm just looking at how the man moved. He could have been wiped out Ukraine. Ukraine could have been a memory of ours. And that's just the bottom line. But we keep playing with these people. We keep antagonizing these people, right? I mean, they're pissing off the Arab nations, right? We got more and more war that is brewing, right? We need to be looking at that stuff, right? These people are going to bring war on our homeland because they keep messing with people. It's like they have conquering people's GDPs on their minds because they fucked over their own country with their radical spending. And the only way that these people know how to balance their budget is to go over to another country and try to imperialize them. But there's not that many people that we can really do that. So we gotta definitely cripple nations with strong economies so that we can absorb them. We are truly leeches in this nation. And unfortunately, with modern warfare and just United States government, these people in government playing the same strategies over and over again, they've really screwed themselves over. Because just like you saw this collapse of the Democratic Party, and they're all scrambling right now, you're going to see a collapse of the military industrial complex, I believe, right? Because they got idiots running it, right? We already got low, people don't want to join the military for a reason, right? Send all the trans men and women to the military. Let's do that, right? Like, let's send all of them over there since they seem to be turning the military into this place for them, anyways, you know? But I'd be interested to see what the future holds and what Trump does to really neutralize some of these impending threats on the nation, right? Because I don't think Russia is playing with us, even with Trump being in the office. Like, I don't think, like, just as tough as people think Trump is, Russia, Vladimir Putin is not a punk. He's allowed us to punk him, but I don't think that man's a punk. I think he's a very patient person. I think he plays chess, and I think that we should just kind of revisit our old strategies and just make sure that we can still employ them, or if we need to kind of come up with some new planning, when it comes to these foreign affairs, because I don't think it's going to work out for Americans in the end. They're going to be short squeezing our tax dollars until the cows come home, and our kids are going to be paying for it all. That's the whole thing. They want our kids dumb and uneducated so that they can be lemmings and slaves to these corrupted systems that basically short squeeze their legacies and their possibilities away. Vlad is a gangster. I think that, he's, to me, Vladimir Putin. I think about a KGB mindset. I kind of looked at a mini documentary on this guy, and I think of him as a dude that has the Napoleon complex. He's not very tall, but he has a tall mindset, right? He has a samurai mindset, right? And I don't think that Putin is as a punk as some of the people in our government. And I don't even think Xi Jinping is. Like, I think the difference between the leaders in these Eastern Axis powers and the leaders in the West is you literally are dealing with semi alpha men in the East, and our Western governmental officials, they are a bunch of betas, men and women, beta males, nepotistic people who are in their position because their daddy knows somebody or some idea of supremacy. But these people are destroying our country, and when you're making alliances based off of paying people off, right? And this is what the West does. They're like, hey, we'll give you $50 million if you be our friend, and we pay for our alliances, right? So people don't really trust us like that. These guys over here are making strategic alliances with common faith deals. These are not the same animals. They're not the same animals. The United States government, the powers of the West, these are literally weak, female like people with female like emotions on the period cycle. They're irrational. They're irrational. Hell, look, I'm gonna be irrational next week, guys. I'm gonna be irrational next week because my hormones are gonna tell me that I'm irrational. We got a lot of people in our governments taking hormones, artificial hormones. That's what we got. What's up? I see you. Thank you so much, Sumperman. All right, Biden made American leadership look dysfunctional. Absolutely. All of the Democrats, I wouldn't say Biden because Biden was just weekend at Bernie's. He was just a big ass dummy. Just most of the time, it was the Democratic machine, Nancy Pelosi. See, whatever we blame on Biden, we really should be blaming on Wall Street Nancy. Nancy Pelosi is really the brains of the operation, her and Chuck Schumer, right? We shouldn't be putting shit on Biden. It's like blaming an Alzheimer patient. We cannot blame Biden. This is all Nancy Pelosi's fault. I'm surprised the Democrats aren't looking at Pelosi, looking at Wall Street Nancy, right? Because Nancy, you got way more pull than that. Biden's ass should have been out. He should have been out. They should have been career pathing Biden's ass out last year. And honestly, I thought Biden was dead. or something like that. I mean, they could have had a health crisis or anything to be able to replace him with Kamala, but they didn't do that. And, I don't know, Wall Street Nancy. I think the Democratic Party should really be looking at Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer. Those are the key decision makers up in there, and they definitely made some terrible decisions for that party. They made them old school decisions. People, you can disagree with the topic without being disrespectful. If you being disrespectful, your ass gonna get kicked out. That's all that's gonna do. So you can come up in here if you want to. You can come up in here if you want to. We don't do that. We do not do that over here. But FBI director, right? John Kennedy is talking to the FBI director, right? And like I said, you guys need to be looking at these Senate hearings, right? Because, FBI director basically he's shaking because John Kennedy asked him point blank period, where are the Epstein blackmail tapes? We getting all this shit from Diddy leaked out. Where are the Epstein tapes?
Jeffrey Epstein, who's now deceased, and Ms. Maxwell, his associate, who's in prison, were engaged in a conspiracy of sex trafficking with minors. So were others. It's been widely reported. What's the FBI doing to investigate the other people that were involved in these
That's
sex
a good
trafficking
question.
rings?
Well, I'm not sure that I can confirm any specific individual.
Well, let me put it this way. Let me give you some facts, widely reported. Jeffrey Epstein had video surveillance in all of his homes and on his private island. And there have been articles after articles from witnesses who have said he videotaped sex acts with prominent people because he was trying to with young girls that he had procured to try to incur favor with those prominent people and potentially to be able to blackmail them. Now, that's a fact. And the FBI and other federal agencies have raided his houses. Do you have those tapes?
Again, I can't discuss the specifics of our law enforcement operations related to Mr. Epstein or Ms. Maxwell, but obviously we had very active investigation related to both of them. But whether it extends to other people, I'm not sure that's something
But here,
comment on. No, he can't comment on it. You know why? And I will say it. I've said it before. I will say it again. If we got access to those tapes, those true flight logs, all of those sexual deviants that were rolling with Jeffrey Epstein, you're talking politicians, you're talking lawyers, you're talking judges, you're talking all these corporate guru type people in high finance spaces. If we really knew all of those perverted sexual deviants that were violating children, probably some of them in ritual, probably some of them because they're sick and no other grown ass woman wanted they asses, so they have to go with these little kids, right? Regardless, it would tank the damn market. The market would tank. You would have the legal system in disarray because a lot of these people, I'm telling you, they were Jeffrey Epstein's people, right? That man was very protected, just like Diddy was protected, because a lot of those people who were empowering him was his own deviant Satanist type of people.
Suit was filed yesterday against one of those prominent people by one of the young women sex trafficked, allegedly, said he was part of the ring. It's on the front page. I don't know, is this the New York Times, Wall Street Journal? And we keep seeing article after article after article. And we keep hearing about prominent person after prominent person after prominent person.
And they're going to keep suppressing
I
that.
just want to know if these prominent people are above the law and are going to be and aren't being investigated, or is the FBI investigating?
Well, no one is above the law, number one. As to whether specific people are being investigated, that's not something that I, as I'm sure you can appreciate, can engage on here. We've devoted significant resources to the investigation.
Is it ongoing?
I'm not sure there's anything I can share with you on that, but let me see.
No, they're not investigating anybody connected with Jeffrey Epstein because too many of their buddies would be shamed and exposed if they did. Let's just keep it real. You have politicians, you had Melinda Gates. You had another lady over in Europe who had a high ranking position in the UK. And she goes, everybody who knew Jeffrey Epstein, they knew what he was about. If you got invited to one of his parties, you knew exactly what you were going to be getting into. This is what the lady in the UK said. Right? They know exactly who these people are, but guess how many justices and lawyers, all of these people will be publicly shamed. People who are supposed to be defenders of the law, and behind closed door, they are violating children, many of them in ritual. Many of them in ritual. Like, people need to understand that sex trafficking is beyond a loser, ugly person's fetish for just having access to somebody to touch on. Some of these people are Satanists, they are Baal, they are Moloch worshippers, they believe in human sacrifices to end unclean spirits. And if you truly believe in like just the fallen angels and the darker sides of reality, then you understand, if you read at least Solomon's book on demonology, that there are levels to talking and being empowered by these unclean spirits. And much of it deals with blood sacrifice or humiliation rituals. So, child sacrificing and trafficking, it is something I believe because majority of these people, these politicians, are seeking empowerment. Many of them will do anything for empowerment, right? I totally believe that this is part of the rituals in different sects. So with like Diddy, right? That was the rituals for these people in the music industry. Epstein, he was the rituals for these people in corporate America and politics, right? Because that was who he was assigned to be getting collateral on and taking down and being able to bribe. And again, Jeffrey Epstein didn't get 86 and caught and even stopped by any legal system until he started bribing higher class people. So again, even with Diddy, right? Jeffrey Epstein, if he would have just kept playing ball, doing exactly what he was opted to do, right? He would still be alive and he still would be doing the same damn thing that he was doing before. But because he got to be side himself, and even Bill Gates said that he tried to bribe him, right? Right? What collateral could Jeffrey Epstein possibly have to bribe Bill Gates? Bill Gates is one of the richest men in the world. So, I mean, it's like, what do you have on one of the richest men in the world that this man felt threatened that you was bribing him? Right? They talk about Epstein's flight logs, right? You have all these victims coming out talking about these high profile people who are in the legal space, who are in the finance space. These people aren't lying, but they are being suppressed because honestly, the people who have harmed them, they are too chicken and too weak to face the consequences of what they did to another person. That's really what it's about.
See if we can get back to you.
Christopher Wray is on his ass lying. Christopher Wray understands that even exposing a lot of these people, I believe he's on his ass lying. I don't believe the FBI is really digging into anything about Jeffrey Epstein because a lot of their people are probably involved in it. Like, I feel like the FBI is one of the most deviant of the FBI or of the alphabet agencies in the federal government. And honestly, if Trump is talking about getting rid of any federal agency, I really think he should prioritize getting rid of the FBI, the Federal Bullshit Investigations Unit, because that's what the FBI has really turned out to be. And mad respects to the FBI agents that actually took an oath and actually tried to do the job to the best of your ability, but your superiors were basically backstabbing leeches who was also on the bandwagon of some bullshit. So even in death, Jeffrey Epstein is going to be protected.
Well, for example, these allegations in this lawsuit, the civil action.
Yeah, I haven't seen
You ought to read
the article.
It'll trigger your gag reflex. Is the FBI going to investigate that?
Well, again, I haven't seen the article, but I would be happy to take a look at it and take it back and see if it's part of something
I'd
we're
just
already
like to
working on.
know,
I share your,
yeah, is the FBI
No, you
still
don't share it.
investigating this? Or are these prominent people going to go scot-free?
I'm not
gonna
sure
be.
that I can tell you whether or not there's ongoing work being devoted to this.
He said that, as the FBI director, I'm not sure if I can tell you. I'm not sure if I can tell you about ongoing investigations. You're the FBI director, Christopher Wray. You should be speaking and everything about your ship definitively because you should know it that well. These people come to the Senate and these congressional meetings blowing smoke out of their asses. And every time they do that, they should get embarrassed. They should get shamed. They shouldn't even be able to walk amongst their community without people seeing how badly they were really grilled and drilled in the Senate and the Congress. Man, like honestly, I have zero desire to run for any US political office, but if I did, I don't want to be the president. I want to be the senator. I want to be a senator on one of these committees so I can just give these people the business every fucking time and call them out on their damn lies. Like, what you're not going to do is come up in here and lying and avoiding questions. And the minute they start doing that, it's like, I'm going to need you to get your lying ass on somewhere. Just disrespect these witnesses. They disrespecting y'all lying anyways. So disrespect their ass. Fuck them witnesses. Get in their asses.
This I
Get
would
in
be
their
happy to
asses.
take a
We
look at
came
the
here for the
specific
truth.
article.
And these assholes over here filibustering answers and dancing all around America around with a bunch of side chick diatribe. And we just ask you a direct question. These people come in front of these hearings and they just don't want to answer shit. And this is what Christopher Wray is doing right now.
I share your disgust.
I share your disgust. Like, basically, empathize with them, Christopher. Empathize with them, but don't give them anything because you can't.
At Mr. Epstein's conduct and Ms. Maxwell's conduct.
And others.
The whole operation.
Okay, thanks, Madam Chair. Sorry, Martin. Mr. Director, it seems to me that some people should not have power.
Can this number?
John Kennedy be really giving them. I really like John Kennedy. Like I said, between him and Josh Hawley, I do like these people. They actually do their job. Now, whether or not anything actually becomes of the grillings that they put out to these people, we never really get to see that, right? I think sometimes the congressional hearings and the Senate hearings is just a big fluff show, just so Americans be like, well, they were before the Senate. Well, what the hell happened as a result of that hearing? What was the outcome of the hearing? They showboat all these damn hearings, and I'm like, well, what happened? What was the outcome of this dog and pony show, right? So Christopher Wray, we're not going to see Epstein stuff. They can drill him about Epstein until the cows come home. We are not getting the Epstein stuff, right? We're not. There are way too many rich people. There are way too many rich people who are just protected. They are just really protected. And we have to come to terms with that. We really do. Jeffrey Epstein is protected. Epstein also sold children into illegal science and experimentation, kids in cages, facilities being biologically violated. Absolutely. And I actually heard, there was an interesting perspective that I saw on a channel called We Woke Now. And he was talking about these British men who were literally trying to breed black women. And he was talking about there was something in our DNA that they found that was just different, unique. And so they had these black, it was two white guys, and they had this table full of black African mixed type of women. And he was telling them why they needed to breed them and create, like, these people are trying to create super races. But what I don't understand is they are heavily reliant, it seems, upon certain DNA classes. Like Jeffrey Epstein, for example, he was trying to create an idea of a pure race. You know what I mean? And this is really what we see, what was going on, like with the mindsets of these people, in Nazi Germany too, where there were some scientific experimentations of people from different ethnic groups, and these people were literally using these human beings as science projects in Nazi Germany. And I would not be surprised if a billionaire millionaires are out there trying to do that. This other guy, he was actually breeding these kids so that they can take the stem cells so that he can elongate his life. Let me see if I can find that. It was just a really crazy stuff what rich people are willing to do to stay alive. And a lot of this stuff is infused with demonism, alchemy, right? And you see a lot of these old ass people, they still ticking. Like, I don't believe that Queen Elizabeth actually died of natural causes, but that's just me. I don't want to be the one out here gossiping, but her ass don't seem like she went, at the right time. Queen Elizabeth looked like she might have been taken out the game so that Charles' ass can be king, because this ass is old. And look at him. He got cancer. Some of this stuff is so weird to me, but I'm like, I don't feel like Queen Elizabeth died all the way of old. Like, you Google, what did Queen Elizabeth die of? And they talk about old age. It's like, get the out of here. She died of somebody taking her ass out of the game so that her son, who was also old as hell and might have been on his dying bed, can taste what it's like to be king. And that's what I feel like. I don't feel like Charles could wait for his mama to die. He's like, damn, you taking too long to die. I'm just trying to be king before I die. It's like, I don't know. I was just sitting right. How you just gonna die of old age? You was doing good a couple of weeks ago. She was looking good. She ain't even looked all frail. Queen Elizabeth just getting around. Do tea time. And next thing you know, Queen Elizabeth taking out a game. Don't make any sense to me. Don't make any sense to me. But let me go find this real quick. Okay, let me see. Where was it? See if I can find this from We Woke Now. They post a lot of stuff. But they were talking about these scientific breeding programs, right? Same thing Epstein was doing, right? These people were doing the same thing. And this is something that these people are doing. So when we're talking about child trafficking, why it's so popular, because you really do have these rich people with these sick mindsets of regenerating themselves through other people, sacrificing other people to, empower themselves. Let me see if I can find that video that this brother did. It was really interesting. See if I can go to his videos. Let's see, what did he say? Pierce, you lied. Son of perdition. I gotta find that video. Next time I do it, we'll talk about this transhumanism stuff. Because I really wish I could find that one that they did. Yeah, I'm gonna have to find it. But he was talking about these billionaires creating their own superhuman race. Um, he was talking about these people were breeding other people, using their DNA, trying to create serums to elongate their lives. And let's see. I wish I could find that, you guys, because that was just, and it was right around the time that Tariq Nasheed was talking about these people were passing
So what is
law about the definition of what was a human. Let me see. Yeah, I gotta find that. But these people are out here breeding other people. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. They're actually on camera saying that these people are doing that. You know, they're out here saying that they're breeding other humans, and it's just sick. It's very, very sick. Yeah. Check out the We Woke Now channel. Very enlightening channel. Um, and like I said, I don't agree with everything that anybody says, right? I don't expect for people to come on this channel and be like, wow, I really agree 100% you say. It's like, you'd be a fool to do that, right? Because I'm speaking on things that are kind of realistic to the patterns of things that I observe, right? And you can't see through my eyes. You have to see through your own eyes. But if you happen to see these patterns, right? You know, obviously, more power to you. Said genetic manipulation is real. I believe it. I totally believe it. You said, why did you choose to have brown eyes and not turquoise eyes? I did not choose that. It's called natural selection. It's called natural selection. These people hate being human, and I think it has to do with the knowledge of ancient civilizations. I think that these people have, I mean, when I think about how, I don't think these people hate being human. And I think that could be part of it. But I think that a lot of people are tapped into different spiritistic practices and mindsets that opens them up to the suggestions of things or entities that are not seen. And these entities convince these people of how they can empower themselves utilizing certain things. Blood sacrifice has been, you know, a plague of humanity for millenniums now, because that is how many people, as to your point, even in the ancient days, this is how they were able to appease a lot of these unclean gods, you know? So we live in a very interesting world, but like I said, this is Satan's world, so there is nothing new under the sun. You said they made a pact with the devil. Many of them have. You know, 96 years on earth. When do you want her to pass away? 196 years of age. Would you say adrenochrome? Wait, what about adrenochrome? Wasn't there a Stephen King movie that was kind of talking about adrenochrome? They were killing these kids, they were targeting these kids, and, obviously killing them so that they could extract adrenochrome from it. Was it weird ass Stephen King that put out a movie like that? One of these movies, these people were out here kidnapping, hurting kids, and torturing kids because they were trying to get basically the adrenaline that came out of these kids when they were under distress. And was it called The Institute? Is that what you're saying, Info Warrior? Is that what the movie is called? Stephen King is suspect too. Oh, I don't have Stephen King. I mean, he just screams that the devil helped him out. We give them our money, taxes. What was that movie? It was like these gypsies. Was it? What were they? I wish I knew, but they were talking about adrenochrome in that movie. And I swear it was like kind of like that predictor programming thing where you're just like, this can't be real, right? But if these people, a lot of times these people, some of these people popular that's been around for a long time, they're not super creative, right? They're not coming up with some of these concepts off the top of their minds. They are privileged in access to a lot of this underground deviancy. And, it takes me back to, Dan Brown. Anybody read Dan Brown's book, The Da Vinci Code? Like, honestly, when you are more aware and conscious, go back and read the Dan Brown's book. Don't read Dan Brown's book to just, you know, sort of, create a new belief system. Read Dan Brown's book to understand how these secret societies and these organizations really work. And Dan Brown was really giving us an insight, but obviously he gave us the Da Vinci Code, and all these little things. And he made it seem like fiction. But I bet you if you go back and look at Dan Brown's movies, books now, and you're thinking about how these Illuminatis, these Freemasons, some of these deviant organization of certain degrees, you know, you probably open your eyes a little bit more to the subliminals. A lot of these people, they put the subliminals, they put the Satanism right in their work. They really do. You said you read them all, and most Stephen King. That's why they want our DNA. They are not capable otherwise. I truly do believe that. I do believe that some of these people running around with supremacy know that of all the individuals in humanity, they are the weakest. They are the weakest. They are the weakest. There is a declassified CIA document available to read that covers the bloodlines of the Illuminati. Hey, send me a link to that. Drop that in the chat, or link that to me whenever you can. I'd be interested in seeing these bloodlines, because it is interesting. It is interesting. Some of these people who they've made us think come from like these poor, humble beginning. Man, these people are just being bred and psyoped into the culture, and we just don't even know. Brad Pitt is related to Obama. Well, Barry Gordy is related to Barry Gordy, the Motown. He's actually related to Jimmy Carter. I think that Barry Gordy and Jimmy Carter have either the same. They have the same grandfather. They have the same grandfather. I think Barry Gordy's dad and Jimmy Carter's dad, is it? They were half brothers. So when you start looking at the links between a lot of these people, you got Angela Davis, right? Pro blackity black black black, and her ancestors were slaves. She found out who her ancestors really were on the Mayweather, right? These people, it's interesting how many descendants of slaves there are. And even though I didn't pay attention to Candace Owens' little, Nancy Drew, Kamala Harris thing, I think it's very interesting that she's a descendant of slave owners at the heart of who she is. So they probably, is it Mayflower? Thank you, Tiffany. And what's up, beautiful? I see you. Yeah, you said bloodlines of the Illuminati. Thank you. I'm gonna have to check this out. I'm gonna have to check that out, my friend. But anyways, you guys, I just wanted to do this video talking, and the whole premise of this particular blog in the beginning was about that whole black versus white unity. And what Neferkari was pointing out was that Trump's cabinet is actually very diverse, has a lot of diverse white looking people in it, but these people come from different ethnic backgrounds. And his brother was making the point that, there are some individuals, black looking people in America, that take on a separatist mindset, and it makes it hard for black looking people to unify the same way that many whites have decided to unify in purpose. And so I like his breakdown of that. Shout out to Neferkari D. Salinas. I hope I'm saying the brother's name right. And let me go ahead and link his blog in the description too, because I just want to go ahead and give him his flowers. So I'm gonna put that in the chat that we just talked about. Let me go back here to Neferkari. This man calling these folks booty scratchers. I don't agree with the rhetoric completely of the video. Obviously, he was trolling some of these black looking immigrant folks, right? Calling them booty scratchers and stuff. But there's the link right there to that YouTube video that I was just discussing. I want to shout out to my moderators. Thank you so much for holding down the chat. I thought this was a really good. George, are you, Grant, coming? I don't know about that. You said booty scratchers sound funny. This is what this brother is calling these immigrants. He's calling them tethers and booty scratchers. And it seems like that particular term was very much applied to Elon Musk. For real. Like, that's crazy. But it is true, though. White people do not delineate from each other as much as black people do. And we do need to take in account that. All right, let me see if I can go up and read some more. Teresa D, I see you. Sumper Man, I see you. Some of my real cool people. Lotus Flower, you said that's devastating. I see you, Lotus Flower. Give Ghetto Planet some love. I see some of my people from overseas too. It looks like I got somebody from Korea in there or whatever. Let's see. Thank you guys for subscribing. This is about, my thing is we cannot unite with each other if we don't understand each other. And there are so many different diverse groups in America. I think it is very valuable to understand how everybody thinks, what is their position, understand their position, because again, some people may be coming from a separatist or nationalistic perspective. Other people, they have unity on their minds, and they're like, hey, if we have a common goal, a common interest, we need to be on code with that and nothing else. And to this brother's point, Donald Trump is not looking at Dr. Oz like you're Turkish. He's not looking at Tulsi Gabbard like you're European and Samoan, and you're from, Poland, and you're from Europe. And he's not breaking down people's ethnic backgrounds and making cabinet choices. He's making his cabinet choices based off of people who he has perceived as being loyal to him, being loyal to America, and nothing more. And I don't know if, I don't even think Trump is really even thinking these are white people dominantly. Even though I will say that Byron Donalds, he really went hard for Trump. He really had black men's attention for Trump. What is Byron Donalds going to be doing in the Trump cabinet? Did Byron get a designation yet? Did they pick something for Byron to do or no? Anyways, very interesting about that. What is Byron's gonna do? He did all that bug dancing. Trump, you better do something for that man. Give him something. Give him the Ben Carson role. What was Ben Carson, the HUD secretary? Give Byron something and bring Ben Carson back too, because we do still need intelligent black men like Ben Carson being the face for, that administration. Trump needs to bring Ben Carson back. That man is a gem in America. I don't care what you think about Ben Carson's politics, political position, whatever. That man will always deserve his flowers in America, okay? Dr. Ben Carson is a modern gem for not only young black boys to emulate, but young boys, period, all right? So you said token as usual. Who's a token? What is a token? Do you even know what a token is? And if you a Democrat, you really can't call nobody no damn token. You said you love Ben. I think Ben Carson is an intelligent man. I think he's an intelligent man. I've never heard anything controversial about Ben Carson. I think with the HUD or the housing or something like that, he was doing those opportunity zones. I think in Trump's first administration, I think they raised about $750 million, for those opportunity zones. So, I mean, if Trump was, who knows how that would have panned out for some of those urban development areas if Trump would have just got reelected the second time. But they wanted Weekend at Bernie's. They wanted a puppet that would just sleep all day while they ran the damn country and ran it into the wall. And that's what we got, unfortunately. So, man, I can't wait till this administration is gone. It's gonna be like that part in like the Wizard of Oz, like King Kong, the witch is gone, King, or the little whatever they were saying in the Wizard of Oz when they were celebrating his ass being gone. It feels like that. Like I really did not like the Democrats really just destroyed all anything left inside of me as an American for that party. It's like King gone, the witch is gone, King gone. Like get all of them out, all of them out. You know, Jill Biden, and you can tell that Jill Biden and Joe Biden, Kamala Harris and her husband, they're not cool. Remember when I used to think Jill Biden and Kamala Harris' husband were hugging up and so friendly all the damn time. Every time you saw him, I was like, dang, is Doug clapping those cheeks or what? Like, is he clapping Jill Biden's cheeks on the low? I actually wondered that, right? Because they was just real friendly. Hey, how's it going? And now Doug can't even look at her. Kamala can't look at Jill. It's just cold. They went from pretending like being best friends, and now we really know how they feel about each other. They hated each other. They hated each other, it seems like. I don't think Jill Biden liked no Kamala Harris. I don't think Kamala Harris liked her ass. And now they don't have to pretend to be friends now that Kamala has lost and Biden's out the door. So Jill Biden is like, I'm going to wear these glasses and not even see your ass. And Kamala Harris is just like, I hate the fact that I have to pretend to be your friend. And Doug is like, no more hugs, Jill. No more love. No, 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 I can't. No, none of that. None of that. None of that. They just totally turned on each other. Just cold shoulders to each other. You know? But anyways, you guys, let me get off here. This is probably one of the longer live streams that I've done. But the next thing, and I do have that article pulled up about the bloodlines. Let's talk about some of these people a little bit more. This transhumanism. Transhumanism, there are actually laws being written. So I want to get a little bit more into those laws before I do a live stream. I want to be able to have some general comprehension of what I've just heard about this transhuman stuff before I actually do a live stream, because I don't want to misinform you guys. I really just like to talk about the information that's out there, and we can group think what the context is for all of us. But there is some laws that apparently are in the brew or end the discussion about transhumanism. And I don't really understand kind of where they're going with all of this. So I would be interested in understanding what a transhuman is going to be defined as, right? If there is a definition of these folks, and what constitutes someone as transhuman, and also how much technology, if you will, would a person have to have integrated into their natural biology to be considered a transhuman person. So these are some real conversations, and it seems very sci-fi and far-fetched, but when you understand that they have programs like CERN, and CERN to me is a very concerning program, because these people, to me, what they're doing is akin to trying to materialize demons or spirits. That is the weirdest scientific program that I've ever learned about. It seems like nothing that they do can actually really work without some type of spiritism, some type of ritual, right? And at the end of the day, they're trying to find what they believe is a God particle, right? And I really do believe that all of this technology based stuff is, number one, to convince modern human beings that Nephilim still exists. You know, you could tell these people don't understand the Bible at all, right? But I think some of this too is control mechanism, where they are truly trying to create perhaps a super type of human race that, to me, supersedes any of us. Like, we are obsolete, in the broad scheme of things, right? We will die, and for them, it's like, if we can stop the births, like if we can stop people from having babies, right? Most of the people here are going to die and fade off, and all we got to do is just short squeeze them out of their lives with all this nasty FDA approved food that's ultimately going to slow kill them, right? And I think that there's some level of planning to make a large portion of this population obsolete. There's very creative ways in which they are doing that with the food and everything like that. You said descended from Lucifer. A lot of these people, absolutely, because the devil knows that he has a short time. You look at how technology, and like I said, the tides of men have evolved, and it's undeniable that Satan is desperate, and he's really just trying to figure out how to control people the best way that they can. And I think part of that transhumanism is going to come with these digital IDs, where they're going to want to start putting chips and barcodes into you, just so that you can participate in everyday economy. So I think that, what we believed was sci-fi or far-fetched, right? I do believe that that is going to be our future, right? Neuralink, right? There are so many technologies that they're coming out with. I was listening to this CEO, and she was talking about their new facial recognition technology, and how it's so sophisticated that if someone is looking at a speaker, they, through facial recognition, they will be able to determine what that person's sentiments are for that speaker. And so when you're thinking about being in the age of the Antichrist, or even idealism, if you're a believer of the Antichrist, right? You know, how are people going to be made to have fealty to the beast? How would the beast even know that they would have fealty to it, right? And a lot of that is facial recognition technology, right? I believe that we're going to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? We're going to be like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, right? We're going to be just like the Daniel's prophecy. Nebuchadnezzar is going to, whoever the Nebuchadnezzar is, he's going to be like, bow down and give me worship, right? And if you don't bow down and worship the Nebuchadnezzar of our times, they're going to try to put you to death or starve you to death. I do believe that's how these cycles of weirdos work. But, anyways, you guys have a wonderful day. We will talk about transhumanism some more. You know, YouTube, as soon as you start mentioning CERN, demons, pedophiles, they just start censoring the content right away. Don't the devil work really interesting, you guys? I tell you. But anyways, look at that. Playing with my internet and everything. Chat disconnected. Please wait while we reconnect the chat. Time for me to go, y'all. The devil don't want us talking about him and his kids anymore. So that means we'll get off. And you guys have a wonderful day. Thanks for tuning in. Shout out Lotus Flowers. Shout out Jet Pack 3. Shout out Ghetto Planet, my mods, Info Warrior. I love you guys. Thanks for riding with me. Sumperman, I see you too, my friend. Did Fred Hinkle come in here? Where's our guy, Fred Hinkle? I actually have to give Fred some love, Fred Hinkle. And my friend from the cornfields, right? He's a good American guy, Fred Hinkle. We see you. If I miss you, Fred, hello. I hope everything is going well in your cornfields. And same to my friend from Vermont. I've never been to Vermont before, but I have to show you some love because I saw you in the other chat too. So, bye, you guys. Have a good evening.